What's up people, hope you're having an awesome day. I'm your host Ayman Hasan and welcome back to another video here at Most Amazing Top 10. Now there are many scary holes in the world, the hole you came out of, the manholes you fall into in the street, and the holes we try to dig ourselves out of when we're just talking shit. But none of these holes truly qualify as the ones we're going to be talking about today because those are far, far worse. So let's dive into this hole. I need to stop. This is the top 10 scary holes that just appeared. Starting us off with number 10 is the sinking city. The city of Berezniki in Russia is slowly but surely sinking. The city was built right on top of a potash mine, and after a bunch of extraction left deep voids under the city, the whole thing is now being supported by walls and pillars of very soluble salt. From the situation, you can probably imagine the city is covered in dangerous sinkholes, the first one appearing in 1986 and still growing. When it first appeared in 2007, it was 200 meters deep and 40 meters wide, but by 2012 it had become 40 meters deeper and 310 meters wide, so just imagine that. This hole is just sucking the city right out of existence, it really is. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, who cares, it's just a small random town, but it actually produces 10% of the world's potash, which is used a lot in fertilizers and whatnot, so I mean it's a problem. Not to mention it would displace the 156,000 something people living there. I mean just imagine living in this city, like I'd be worried living in my house or walking anywhere, like what if a sinkhole just appeared out of nowhere, then what? What do I do? Do I just fall in? What? Coming in at number 9 is the trio. From the title you can probably guess we are talking about not one hole, not two holes, but 3 holes. 3 giant craters were found in Siberia back in 2014. The first one was dubbed the crater at the end of the world, and it was 70 meters deep with a frozen lake at the bottom of it. The second hole was found a few miles away from the first one, and the third was actually accidentally found by reindeer herders. The third is a perfect cone shape nearly as deep as the first. Now all 3 holes have a ring of dirt and debris around them, which tells us that they were created by something that exploded inside the earth and went outwards, but what? They aren't near any gas lines and it wasn't a stray missile. Many people pointed to extraterrestrial involvement, which I mean could be juicy, but the most interesting and probably realistic theory is that they're all reverse sinkholes which have actually never been scientifically documented before. So in that regard, instead of collapsing on itself, the hole was caused by an underground collapse, the holes then filled with gas and then erupted upwards. I feel like I'm either telling you guys a history lesson or a science lesson. What do you prefer? Jimmy Neutron or who teaches history? I don't know.
Please let this be a normal field trip with a friend? No way!
Me, evidently. At number 8 we have the city center hole. In Guatemala City back in May of 2010, an entire intersection right in the center of the city literally just disintegrated out of nowhere and left a 300-foot deep and 60-foot wide sinkhole. It even swallowed a building along with it and has the potential to grow even bigger. Now here's a basic science lesson. Now sinkholes are natural depressions in the ground that tend to form when water-heavy soil and other particles become too heavy and cause the roofs of existing gaps in the soil to collapse. I hope that was very easy to understand. With this sinkhole, theories go that a broken storm sewer could have been saturating the soil for a while before it finally succumbed. Either way, the hole looks terrifying and I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be there when that was happening. I literally would have flashed back to the movie 2012 and been like, alright, we're done for, where's my getaway plane? Filling our number 7 slot is the garage. Back in 2010 in Schmalkalden, Germany, residents of a quiet neighborhood shat themselves when they all heard a loud roar in the morning. Now most of them assumed it was construction trucks dealing with gravel, but when people actually started their mornings and went outside, they realized how close they were to death. A massive 65-foot deep, 130-foot wide sinkhole appeared in the road of the neighborhood, taking with it someone's whole garage and another person's car. No one died thankfully, but imagine that being your garage or your car. Imagine half your house getting sucked into the earth and you just sleeping peacefully not knowing what the hell's happening. Now at number 6 are the Dead Sea holes. I've never been to Jordan or the Dead Sea, but my mum legitimately wants to go there for vacation every single year. Yet we never do. One day mum, one day I'll take you there. But either way, because of the Dead Sea's high salt content, multiple sinkholes have formed inside of it over the years. 2,500 have formed since 1970 and 1,000 of those were in the last decade alone. Every every year less water is flowing into the Dead Sea. It's about a third of how big it used to be in the 60s, and because its water gets rerouted towards Syria and Jordan, it's only getting about 10% of the water it needs to maintain its size. So next time you go there for a holiday and you fancy visiting the Dead Sea for some Dead Sea mud facials, just beware of the sinkholes. But don't worry, at least if you do get swallowed by one, they name it after you. There's always a silver lining, people. There's always a silver lining. Coming in at number 5 is the Olympic pool. Back in September of 2012, Juan Unga was driving home on the highway in Ottawa when the road straight up collapsed right in front of him. It happened so quickly he had no time to stop or evaluate the situation, and he had no room to swerve either, otherwise he'd crashed into other cars, so as any good citizen he just drove straight into it. Apparently a sewer line had burst under the highway, and that's what caused the sinkhole that started off smaller than Juan's car and ended up as big as an Olympic swimming pool. Well, I'm just happy with this story because at least Juan survived. At number 4 is Mount Baldy. 6 years ago, a young boy was exploring the dunes of Mount Baldy in Indiana Dunes National Park when a sinkhole appeared out of nowhere and swallowed him 3 meters deep. After a few hours of that happening, other sinkholes started appearing in the dunes, and geologists have been baffled ever since as to why. Sand and sinkholes just don't go together. Even when a sinkhole does appear somewhere else, it's usually neighboring sand that fills it up. Even ground penetrating radars haven't been able to put a finger on it, and by now the park is actually off limits to the public because of how frequently the sinkholes appear. In an effort to make the dunes more stable, the park is going to plant grass there to try and get the roots to stop the movement and erosion. I mean, that's the first. I've honestly never heard of sinkholes being in sand. Like, you see them in the ocean and you see them in the city, but nothing in sand. The worst that can happen with sand is, I feel, like quicksand, and like scorpions and snakes and lack of water and food. Filling our number 3 slot is Jeff. Back in Feb of 2013, a boy called Jeff Bush was just chilling in his bedroom watching some TV when out of nowhere a sinkhole appeared right in the middle of his room. I feel like I've started every story with an out of nowhere a sinkhole appeared, but that's actually just what happened. His brother Jeremy ran in when he heard the sound to find a 20-foot wide hole instead of a bed, and his brother nowhere to be found. The TV was even hanging over the mouth of the hole. The cord saved it, and that's why, guys, cord headphones better than AirPods. Listen up. Either way, Jeremy, as brother of the year, jumped into the hole to save Jeff and had to be saved himself when emergency responders came. Jeff was never found and was presumed dead, which is such a mystery to me because I feel like if Jeremy jumped in and got to the bottom and didn't find him, then where the hell could he have gone? It generally just doesn't make sense to me. Where'd he go? Now at number 2 is DAISETTA. Back in 2008, DAISETTA, Texas was the location of a massive sinkhole appearance. Instead of doing disappearing acts, it's like they're just appearing everywhere. The sinkhole got its start because DAISETTA itself is built on top of an underground salt dome, which is very vulnerable to water erosion. So the rim of the dome caved in, which led to the road cracking and shaking, and then boom, a pit just appeared. First it was 20 foot in diameter, and then a few days later it was 600 by 525 feet and 150 feet deep. As it got bigger, it swallowed everything in its path, and eyewitnesses claim it was like the earth just wallowed up. The sinkhole is still growing even now, and researchers say it could collapse further and be as wide as 6 miles, which is a heck of a lot. At least the locals know how to have fun with it though, since they nicknamed it Sinkhole de Mayo. Punny, very punny. And finally, at number 1 is the toxic hole. So in 2010, a sinkhole randomly appeared in the forest near to where Bayou Corn is in Louisiana. The Texas Brine Company had been using the area for mining for decades, so it's been confirmed the mining is the thing that caused the salt dome located there to collapse and form the sinkhole. And normally a 422-foot deep hole that takes 100-foot pine trees in its wake is bad enough, but this hole is as toxic as it can get. The ever-expanding sinkhole is extremely close to an underground storage facility that has 63 million gallons of butane gas in it. And all the methane and natural gas coming out of the ground anyway is just making the sinkhole more of a toxic gas chow mein. And the cherry on top is the fact that radioactive material was stored in the area illegally in the 90s, and God knows where that is now. It's probably exiting through the sinkhole as well. And that's it for today's video, guys. I think I've had my fair share of holes now, like I think I'm good for life. But I'm actually interested to know if any of you living in any of these towns have actually seen these sinkholes, or if you live somewhere else and you have. I just want to know. Sinkhole sightings, let me know. I've actually never seen one, and maybe that's just a blessing in disguise, hopefully. Either way, I'm your host Ayman Hasan, and I'll see you next time. Bye!